Hi everyone, welcome to the QIC-WA Analytics Assistant. This is a web-based tool built specifically for public child welfare agencies to help you make sense of your workforce data. Whether you're tracking how candidates move through your hiring pipeline or want to understand how long employees stay at your agency, this tool turns your data into clear visuals, key metrics, and AI-powered recommendations. No data science background required. So today I'm going to walk you briefly through the main features so you can see how this application works and how it can help your team. So let's get started. So first thing you want to do, if you haven't already, you want to register for an account. This is free. And then once you have your credentials, you can log in. Once you're logged in, you'll land on the import data page. On the left side, you'll see a sidebar. This is your main navigation with all the pieces that we'll go through briefly today. At the top, we have the import data where you bring your data into the platform. Below there are two dashboards for hiring analysis and retention analysis. Those are the core of the app at this point. Hopefully we'll expand to more in the future. You'll also see files for managing your uploaded data and reports and integrations to connect to other data systems if you want to connect directly to, say, your HR data system or something like that. And then there are settings to sort of customize your experience as you need. Down at the bottom, there's a support section so that you can provide feedback as this application is still in a beta testing phase. And so as a learning organization, we want to hear from you and try and improve this application going forward. All right, so let's start by bringing some data into the system. There are a number of different ways to do that. We'll start with the hiring data process. You can upload a CSV or Excel file or similar types of files. You can connect directly to a Google Sheet. You can enter data manually, or you can, like I said before, you can connect to some of your HR platforms. Or if you don't have any data and you just want to test things out, you can just click the Generate Sample Data button. And then once you do that, you're taken to step 2 here, where you choose the level at which your data is formatted. So is it the individual record level, or is it at the individual applicant level, or is it aggregate data? So summary numbers from your hiring process. So I'm going to choose a record level data. So say, for example, anytime any characteristic for an applicant changes within your data, you have a new row for that, and your data would be record level data. And so I'll select that, click continue, takes you to step 3, and that will generate some samples here, generating several rows of data. And you can see it was successful. So 10 different hiring stages, and it generated 5 imaginary records for you to explore. So you can click View Dashboard, and it'll take you straight to the dashboard hiring page. And you can see here, it automatically, the first time you log in, will click through a tour of this hiring dashboard so you can understand what's here. So let's get into it. So across the top, you have some KPIs. You can customize what you're looking at. You can filter by different characteristics in your data. So in this case, for example, different departments or the different time range you want to look at based on what's in your data. And it creates a nice little Sankey chart here, a little candidate flow analysis showing at each stage how many folks are sticking around and how many folks have exited the hiring process through to, in this case, the panel interview right before hire. And as you put data into the system, you can ask the recruitment analyst, this is the AI component of this application, about what's going on. So how can I improve my process? And it'll generate some feedback based on the results of the data you input. Crucially, not the data itself, but the results of the data that you input. It comes up with several different recommendations here, as you can see, based on the data that you analyzed, and it summarizes some key insights here. All right, so that wraps up the key pieces of the hiring analysis. Let's go back to our import data page in order to show you how to import retention data. Okay, so this retention data piece looks very similar to the hiring data import page, some slightly different options. Again, you can upload data from a CSV or an Excel file that you have locally, or connect to a Google Sheet that maybe you manage your retention data in, or connect directly to an HR data system that you may be using. Or you can generate some sample data. One key thing to note about importing any data, whether through the hiring or retention data pieces, is that the system will automatically look for any sort of person identifiable information. It will ask you to remove those columns before uploading data so that there's never any personally identifiable information like names or emails or phone numbers or addresses or anything like that, because we don't want to have the system responsible for containing your personally identifiable information. There are security protocols in place should any of that kind of thing happen, but it's just not necessary for this type of analysis. And so the system is set up to map out the data columns that you upload and then to review them for any potential personally identifiable information. Okay, so let's import some retention data here automatically. It takes a minute to create the synthetic records. All right, so the synthetic records have been created. We just have to select that data set. And as you can see, similar to the hiring data dashboard, you get some key metrics across the top, and then you also get your retention curve here. And as you hover over each month of retention, you get some information about how the probability of folks sticking around was calculated, some details about that. Key piece of this is that you can disaggregate or segment that retention analysis by key groups. So say, for example, staff category. And in this case, we can separate them by caseworkers and executives and middle management and senior specialized workers, supervisors, or support staff. And as you can see, it shows you some detail about each of those different types of workers at each point. And again, you can ask your AI assistant for some interpretation or some explanation about the results that were created. And then it gives you a little bit of a summary about each of these groups and whether or not the median retention was reached for each of those groups. And as you can see, in some cases, the median retention, so half of the workers leaving, was reached. Or you can automatically generate some additional AI-generated insights about retention analysis. And as you can see, the overall turnover rate for the agency was a little high. Strong retention is 6 months. Retention declines substantially as time goes on. And then median tenure indicates that a moderate duration for employees, so approximately 20 months is median tenure for the agency. So those are the key pieces to highlight about the retention analysis. So another key feature of the application is that either in the hiring analysis or retention analysis dashboards, you can export your analysis or your report to either PDF or a Power presentation. And it'll display whatever's on the screen at the moment, those numbers, or however you filtered or disaggregated the data, that's what will be exported. And so you can use that for presentations or reporting or whatever you need to do to help others in your agency and partners understand how hiring is going and the extent to which and how you are retaining staff. There's also plenty of support information in the app. If you ever have questions, you can click in the support area on how it works, and it shows you each of the steps of the application, key features, data options, how it analyzes and visualizes the data, and what the AI does to interpret the information, some documentation about frequently asked questions and how the application works. And then in the support page, you can enter a support ticket if something isn't working. This is, again, in a beta testing phase, and so we're here to learn from you all and your use of these tools. And so you can either submit a support ticket there. You can search our documentation, our FAQ about the application. The last piece I want to highlight is the file section of the app. And so any files that you upload or even the synthetic data that you generate will be stored here. And you have the option to select any or all of these files and then to delete any of those so that you have access to and control over all of the information, all the data that you either provide or generate in the app. Nobody else other than you with your login credentials have access to any of this data or ever will. One other way to provide feedback, in the bottom right of the app, you'll always see this little conversation icon. And so you can click that, and it will ask you to select an element on the screen that you want to provide some feedback about. So you click select an element, you select that element on the page, anything that you think is interesting or you want to provide feedback about or that is maybe not working correctly. And you can click that, and then you can provide a rating about how well that's working. You can select the category, the type of report you're going to provide feedback about, and then provide some comments there and submit that feedback. All right, so that's the QIC-WA Analytics Assistant. So just to recap what we've talked about today, you can import your hire and retention data in multiple ways. You can visualize your data with interactive dashboards and get AI-powered insights and recommendations, and then export professional reports to share with your team and your other partners and leadership. Hopefully everything here is designed to be as straightforward and accessible as possible with no specific technical expertise required. But if anything isn't working or you have ideas about how to improve the application and its usefulness, please do reach out to us so that we can make adjustments and improve the app as we go. Thanks for listening, and we hope you use this tool well.